What's up, everybody? David Myhall here, and I'm gonna say this has not been that crazy of a week in crypto. This has been the least exciting week since I started making these videos, and honestly, that's a good thing, I think. We can kind of catch our breath a little bit, but of course, I'm still going to talk about what's been going on over the past week. I think the top story was the Opyn protocol was hacked this week. Opyn is a DeFi platform for options trading, which is basically been sold as a insurance platform, a way to protect against any bugs in other protocols. But of course, they had a bug in their contracts. There was an issue that allowed a hacker to basically double exercise an option and take double the money out. So they lost almost $4,000 worth of assets. They also worked with Sam Zizi's son, the security researcher, to white hack, withdraw over $400,000 worth of assets. And the team behind Opyn has stated that they will be returning these assets to users, basically covering any losses that Opyn users took. Honestly, there was not that much news around this for a DeFi hack. Maybe because this is a bit of a newer protocol, it's not the most widely used. But one interesting thing about this hack was, I guess, just the fact that right now, most of these teams are covering losses on their protocol. Opyn will be covering these losses. We've seen in the past that Balancer covered some hacks due to losses on their product, and a few other teams have done the same. So I guess this is a necessary step for now while these protocols are still new and while teams are still trying to make people feel secure about using these new protocols. But at some point, we're going to have to move away from this. Hopefully, projects like Nexus Mutual will be able to kind of fill this void and provide more decentralized insurance against these type of issues. But for now, yeah, I guess these teams kind of have to keep a pretty large war chest in order to cover any of these losses. Next up, the final testnet for ETH2 Phase 0 launched this week. It is called Medasha testnet. I think I'm saying that right.
Medasha.
Thanks, Mariano. So this is the final testnet. If everything goes well with this, Phase 0 will launch hopefully before the end of the year. I was watching the live stream for this. It seemed like there was not necessarily an issue, but as the network went live, there were not sufficient validators running to finalize the first block. So I believe it actually took a few hours before the network was able to reach consensus. I don't know if there's good information about why this happened. My guess is that there was a really easy website, I'm blanking on the name of it, but there was a website for signing up to be a validator as this network launched. And they made it really easy, and I think maybe they made it too easy, and probably too many people signed up for it that weren't actually set up to run a validator on their own hardware. And of course, this is a testnet, so there was not any money on the line. But also, I don't want to kind of put too much emphasis on this because I guess I'm a little worried. I mean, personally, I'm really excited to see Phase 0 go live this year. I am a little worried that the Ethereum community is maybe overhyping this a little bit, as Phase 0 is not going to change the way Ethereum works at all. It's going to start off as a separate chain, and it's not going to be until later phases that we start to see applications that are currently running on Ethereum get pulled in, and that's when we'll start seeing some of the benefits of proof of stake and of sharding and whatnot. Next up, we'll turn to our favorite topic, YFI and yEarn. The biggest news around that this week was a story published by Decrypt with some quotes from the founder, Andre, basically venting some of his frustration amongst some comments that he's seen from people in the community and the fact that he really hasn't seen a lot of financial gain from this project because he didn't keep any tokens when the tokens launched a few weeks ago. Now he's kind of walked back these comments and said that this was a bit of a sensationalized news piece. He's also done some more extensive interviews on other programs such as Bankless. But the thing that I thought was great about this was, they set up a Gitcoin grant for Andre and yEarn. The community kind of really reached out and was sending him a lot of money as support for his great work. So always nice to see that. And the final thing I'll talk about is our Twitter drama this week. This isn't actually news, but again, kind of a slow news week. This is supplygate, I guess is what we're calling it. Basically, this all started when someone named Pierre Richard started raising some questions about what is the total supply of Ether. Now, this question kind of devolved into a whole rabbit hole. Basically, there's a few different answers. You can find some numbers on block explorers. There are also some scripts that you can run, and that'll generate a different number of supply. And this really turned into a very Bitcoin versus Ethereum debate on Twitter. Bitcoin is obviously very strong on their narrative of fixed supply. Ethereum has continual issuance, so it's not a capped supply. And this is really, I guess, an ideological difference between these two communities. Again, this was kind of overblown. From a technical side, what this comes down to is how you're counting. You can count all Ether that's ever been issued, and that'll give you one number. But a lot of other methods of counting, they count the current sum of all accounts on the network. And when you do that, it'll take out ETH that has been burned. And of course, this really gets technical, but there are certain ways that you can actually burn Ether where it is removed from existence. There's also a lot of people that will burn Ether by just sending it to the address 0, which is not removing it from the network, but it's effectively burning it. So there's different ways of calculating this number. You reach different conclusions, but there were some good things to come out of this. There were some really good tweet threads that came out of, I guess, kind of centrists on this Ethereum Bitcoin divide. Eric Wall and Nick Carter had some great threads about this issue, as well as my favorite one was from the famous crypto Twitter troll Udi, who really broke down that this really just comes from a ideological difference between Bitcoin and Ethereum. Bitcoin is really a currency that is powered by a blockchain, whereas Ethereum is a blockchain that is powered by a cryptocurrency. And that's why, on Bitcoin, there's much more emphasis on this fixed supply. On Ethereum, much more emphasis on just maintaining a secure, solid blockchain. Because again, not everyone using Ethereum really cares about the monetary policies of Ether. If you're using DAI, you don't really need to care about this. Even though DAI is backed by Ether, DAI holders aren't assuming that risk. If you're using synthetics, if you're using Aave, if you're trading NFTs, if you're using a lot of these things, maybe the only reason you need Ether is to pay gas. And so it's not a long-term investment. It's not supposed to be hard money. But I do think this was a really good discussion to be had. And the most exciting thing is I think that the Nethermind team has announced that they will be kind of including a script for calculating this in their Ethereum client. And I'm guessing we'll probably see more Ethereum clients add this. Really, this is not a complicated thing to add to clients. It's just, again, the Ethereum community hasn't had an emphasis on this, so the teams haven't been encouraged to do it. So I'm going to say thank you to the Bitcoiners who kind of brought some attention to this topic. That was it for, again, a pretty low news week here in crypto land. I will see you guys next week, and maybe next week will be crazy. Maybe it will not be, but take care.